Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spouse Nation. My name is Stacey Harris, and I am the Outreach Program Manager for Military Spouse Jobs and the Spouse Nation program. And I'm here today with my partner, Melinda Rao, who is a Senior Outreach Specialist. And our special guest today is Lucy Piper, and she is the Program Manager for the Women's and Military Spouse Program at ACP, otherwise American Corporate Partners, there you go, otherwise known as ACP. The big challenge, the tongue twisters as we start our day here. Should have had more coffee. But welcome, everybody. We are excited today to talk about mentoring. And so we're happy to have Lucy with us today. And she's going to share some great information about that and the importance of that for us military spouses. And it's a great tool that we should all be taking advantage of, and most of us probably don't. So that's kind of what we're going to dig into today. So let's get started. This is fun to actually be able to kind of have this conversation. We've been talking about coaching and mentoring for the last couple of months here. So I'm going to just jump right in and throw the first question at you, Lucy. So first of all, tell us about ACP and how they got started.
Sure. So ACP is a nonprofit organization. We're located, you can see New York City behind me, in New York City, but we've got participants all across the globe. That includes our proteges, which are our transitioning service members, post 9/11 veterans, and military spouses now. So the program started quite a while ago, over 12 years ago, and initially, so that was right around the surge to Iraq and Afghanistan, if you kind of think about that timeline. And so it was founded with this intention of creating a different environment for our service members who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Wanted to create something where they really had kind of this big brother, big sister, kind of relationship with people in the corporate world. So if they were deciding to get out after their time in Iraq and Afghanistan, they would have this warm reception that a lot of other veterans in previous eras didn't have. And so the founder, who is a retired banker, started thinking about what could he do to help these men and women who were coming back. And he didn't have really any military ties, and was too old to serve and really didn't know what to do. However, he started to reflect on what had made him as successful as he was. And when he really got down to it, he realized it was mentorship. It was that person who was, helping put his resume at the top of the stack, or giving him that field-specific career advice wherever he was, helping make those intros and network and all of those pieces. And so he really started to think about what could that look like for this population of people, and reached out to people in his network, and it grew from, a small nonprofit to this huge organization that has now helped, over 20,000 veterans and
Wow.
military spouses who have completed a year-long customized one-on-one mentorship. Each protege here is hand-paired with a mentor from mostly Fortune 500 companies. A lot of them are Fortune 100 companies. We have over 85 partner companies at this point, and it runs the gamut. So, we've got mentors from every area. You've got your typical logistics, operations, IT, to small business owners and career coaches and helping professions and all of these different things as we build the program out. So the spouse program specifically is about 3 years old now, and continues to grow and evolve as we reassess what do the spouses need, what are the differences, and how can we help them with their own professional development, because that looks different than our transitioning service members and veterans. So really have tried to make sure that pool of mentors is different and unique and there to support those spouses as well.
That's fabulous. Before I pass this off to Melinda for the next question, the comment that you made, it does look different for spouses. And I think people forget that, when we're dealing in this world, veterans and military spouses, we are all here serving in our own capacity, but our needs do vary. So that's fabulous that you guys actually can recognize that on the mentoring side as well, that spouses would have different needs when it comes to that. So just wanted to make that point there.
Absolutely. And that's been a major focus for me. I get it. My husband is a Marine Corps veteran, so I understand what that looked like. We've done the whole, we were married before he joined. So I know what it looks like in each of those steps. He's now out. And so I saw that transition also in his process. And he had an ACP mentor here who helped him with his steps. That looks very different though than what my mentor would help me with and focus on, because it's going to be things like volunteerism and gaps in my resume, and how to network ahead of a PCS, or how to network when we were coming back to New York City, which we hadn't lived here in over a decade. Like very, very different than what some of our other proteges may be experiencing.
So that brings me to understanding the type of candidate that may best benefit from your program. So how would I, as a candidate, come to you, and what would you tell me would be the best thing about your program for me?
So in terms of the best candidate, especially for our military spouse population, I don't think there's a bad candidate, and I don't think there's a bad time to join this program. As long as you are at a point where you're ready to focus on your professional development, it could be anywhere in there. We've got proteges who are thinking about going back to school, and what could that look like, and maybe what does a career look like down the road. And they're talking to their mentors specifically about things like, is this going to be the most marketable degree? Should I go ahead and pursue this? Should I look at certifications instead? And that goes all the way up to the spouses of our retiring service members who maybe have taken an extended break or have significant gaps, or are thinking about what their career could look like now that they don't have to think about any PCSs in the future anymore. I can set roots somewhere. It's the beautiful thing is it's about that protege. They get to set the agendas month to month with their mentor. So it's a year-long mentorship. They're having 12 significant conversations. Some pairs talk weekly, some monthly. It's up to them to set the cadence of calls there and what works for their schedules. But the protege, that military spouse, gets to come to those sessions and say, listen, here's where I am. Right now, I'm focusing on the job search. Right now, I'm focusing on, education. Right now, I'm looking at negotiations because I'm already in the interviewing process. Can you help me with that? Or I've got the job, but now I have to acclimate to this new work environment. Can you help me with that? So it's about them, where they are, meeting them where they're at. And so there's no one size fits all. And so there's no one size fits all for the candidates either.
It sounds to me like you hit several of the touch points that I think are significant for our military spouses. And when we have the opportunity to go out and actually talk face to face with our military spouses, those are the touch points that they're saying they're most concerned about. Mm-hmm. So it sounds to me like you have tapped into that. But what is the actual process, start to finish? How does a candidate get started with your program?
Sure. So easy, I promise you. I know it always sounds intimidating when you're like applying to something, but ours is a really simple process. So jump on the website, acp-usa.org. And you're going to put in about a third of the way down or so on that landing page. There's going to be a button specifically for spouses to apply for a mentorship, because we want to make sure that we're asking the right questions so that we can tailor this again to what your needs are. So you click in there. You're going to go through a couple of pages. My best bit of advice is don't get hung up on the details here. This is kind of an initial getting you through the door process where we're going to gather some information and start a profile for you. But we are super high touch here at ACP. I think that's what makes this program so unique and so wonderful. So once you submit, again, if you don't have all of your information, if you don't have your picture handy, if you don't know all of the answers, don't worry about it. You're going to hit submit. It's going to be routed to a real person. So the only machine you're ever going to get here at ACP is our answering machine if there's not somebody in the office. I promise you, there's no bots or algorithms or any of that. We do everything by hand here. So a real person's going to reach out to you within 24 to 48 business hours. And they're going to schedule a call with you to find out where you are in your career, what your goals are, what kind of mentor are you looking for, what specific fields are you interested in, do you have any preferences for the person that you work with? We're going to get all of that. And so we can fill in any of those details that you didn't get to when you're filling in the application. Just get it in. That's the hardest part. So many times I feel like I see them start the application and then they don't get it in, and then you get caught up in a million things because life is hard and we have a million fires to put out, and kids and husbands and spouses and all of the things. Just get it in, and then we can help you with all of those other pieces. So they'll reach out to you, they'll schedule a call with you, you'll have that, they'll get to know you, and then they'll start the search. And that looks different for everybody too, because again, everybody's search is going to look different. So they will start going through and hand pick a mentor for you based on the conversation that you had. We won't automatically assign anybody, so the person will reach back out to you once they've identified a mentor that they believe is a strong fit. They're going to give you a little information on the mentor, let you know what their thought process is, why they think this is a good fit for you. You're going to give them your feedback. And then once you both are on the same page, the point of contact here at ACP and the military spouse, that's when we'll make that formal connection so the you and your mentor can start connecting. And then we stay with you through it. I think that's another piece, is we don't just say, okay, great, here's your mentor, have a good year. That point of contact follows you through the entirety of the year with us. They check in with you and your mentor. They get their feedback from you. They provide you with customized tools and suggestions. They troubleshoot anything that comes up, because again, we're all humans and things do come up. So you've got a third unbiased sounding board in this kind of this relationship also, so that they're there to make sure that you're getting everything that you need out of this mentorship over the course of the year.
And I think that's why the relationship that Military Spouse Jobs and Spouse Nation has with ACP is such a good fit, because we are also a very high touch, personalized approach to placement and all of the employment tools that we help you develop. So I think that complementary relationship is really, really, really important. The other thing I wanted to mention is, because we have this good relationship with ACP, you can access ACP through Spouse Nation, spousenation.org, under our mentor tab. Mentor. We ask for just a little bit of information just to know that you have tapped into ACP, but that little button directs you straight to the ACP website, where you can go through the process that Lucy just explained, so that you can get started with your career journey. And I think that's exciting that we're able to work so well together and keep that high touch, personalized approach throughout this entire process. So I'm going to toss it back to Stacy. She has a couple more questions for you. And then I want to follow up at the end with something from Denise.
So one of the things, or there's two words that get tossed around a lot, right? Coaching and mentoring.
Yep.
And I think they get intertwined, and there's a lot of confusion for folks when they're talking about coaching and mentoring, and they are two different things. Can you kind of just separate them out for us a little bit?
Sure. So from my experience, a coach is somebody who is going to help you with some specifics there. So they may be somebody who's really well versed in resumes or interviewing or those processes. It could be kind of a gamut of things that they specifically focus on and how they're going to help you. A mentor can help you with those same pieces dependent on, what your focus on is. However, I think the thing that really separates it is that this is a person who's sharing their lived experiences, what they've taken and the lessons learned by working in that field. And so, that's why we really get down to the nitty gritty of, what do you want to do? What field are you most interested in, so that we can connect you with somebody there? Because a good resume is going to look great across the board, so to speak. However, maybe somebody who's got a really long career in logistics is going to look at that differently than somebody who has a really long career in, let's say, social work, like my background is in. So those wickets that are on there, or the things that you're talking about in an interview, or, the pieces of negotiations or acclimating to that work environment, may look different through their lens. And I think that that's really what mentoring brings, is that it's somebody who's walked a mile in those shoes. They know what you don't know. And so it's not just that kind of general, and coaching, that's not to say that coaching is not legitimate or not important. It certainly, absolutely 100% is. But the difference here is that this is really specific to the mentor's experiences and how that relates to your journey. So it's about building that personal relationship and taking from that what they've learned, lessons learned in the field or in what they're kind of you're talking about it or focusing on, as opposed to the other side of it, which is going to be very more specific, tailored, and probably kind of more structured in a lot of ways.
Well, I'm going to ask, I'm guessing, and you can clarify this, are the mentors volunteers?
They are. Good question.
So they must be very passionate about what they do.
Absolutely. So all of the mentors here, and we've got thousands. There are currently over 3,000 veterans and military spouses who are being mentored right at this moment in the program. And so they're all volunteers. So they come from our partner companies. However, these are people who want to be involved, who want to pass down their knowledge and to help, with our professional development. They're passionate about helping the military community and feel really blessed that we do have so many people who really want to be here. They absolutely 100% want to see you thrive and take their advice and use it to be successful in what you're doing. I would say probably only about a third of them are former service or military spouses themselves. And so we do have that, and we've got mentors who have that experience. However, most of them are just people, really good people who want to give back to the military community and help serve in another way, since maybe a lot of them, I feel like a lot say, I didn't have the chance to do that, but I can help in this way. And it's really beautiful to be witness to that experience and that relationship.
Well, what I think is actually very valuable is these folks that are looking for mentoring are looking for employment outside of the military. So to me, having that mentor that has a different experience is probably very beneficial, because we've got our mentors with inside the service, right? But if we're now looking for that position and that employment in the civilian world, I would think that someone who's actually living it is going to bring tremendous value. And another quick question I had about that, is there a vetting process, or what is that process for someone to become a mentor with your organization?
Yeah, so we really rely on our corporate partners here to help with that. So they, when they come on board, they help pass down, really, I want to say it's the best of the best, quite frankly, because they want to make sure that the people that are part of this program, the volunteers who are helping, have the relevant experience so they can help. And part of it is that they're hoping that they're going to find some great talent out there too. So they want to put their best foot forward also as they're helping foster these relationships. In terms of their backgrounds, typically we want at least 3 to 5 years of experience in their field. So these are people who have some significant experience, but that goes all the way up to C-level suite execs who are in our program. And so those are the things that we're going to nail down. A retiring officer who's probably, served 20 plus years probably needs somebody who has, 20 years of experience in the corporate world, whereas maybe somebody like me, if I was kind of moving into a new sector, that might be less important. So those are things that we work on to identify, along with, other things, personality fit, and, is maybe time zone is very important if we've got somebody who's overseas. I mean, there are a million things that go into what that pairing process is to make sure that this is a good fit. But yeah, we really do rely on our corporate partners who are so wonderful and have helped build this program up.
Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about what I call the WIIFM radio station. It's for me formula, because I think that all of us are in this particular space because we are passionate about helping all of these candidates, job seekers, achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. So why is, and you've touched on this a little bit, but why is this mentoring relationship so important in this employment journey?
I mean, I would say that it's imperative. I mean, I think that, the world is changing. It's continuing to evolve. And as we move further and further into this virtual platform, I think it's kind of creating a different way of finding employment, securing it, negotiating, acclimating to it. And so I think that person, that having that support system, again, coming in with that field relevant experience, and making those connections. I think networking is a huge piece of the puzzle here, and something that mentorship can really help you with. Developing a strong LinkedIn presence, which is something I always push, and I think that a lot of us military spouses kind of came late to the party in a lot of ways, to that platform. So getting comfortable on there, informational calls with other people in the mentors network sometimes, or helping them, feel out a mock interview as they're prepping for something. There are so many pieces that can be so helpful as you're thinking about employment. It's not always the goal of every mentorship here. Some are career advancement. Some, again, like I said, are focused more on education, or making themselves more marketable for down the road. But I would say there are a lot of proteges in this program who are in that job search space. And again, they get to bring that to the table every meeting and say, here's where I am. What should I be doing? What don't I know? And I think that's the thing that follows us around, right? The military community, like, don't know what I don't know, and you can't until you know somebody who knows what you don't know. And so this gives you that access, that direct access to somebody. And each mentor here is only working with one protege at a time. So it's not like they're overwhelmed with trying to help a million people. They're specifically focused on you for 1 year. So they know what's going on. They're keeping up to date with, all of these pieces and trying their best to make sure that you're the best prepared, because that's what's in it for them, right? There's no real whiff in it for them other than they want to see you succeed, because they want to be part of this program. And to be a great mentor means you gotta gotta try to help make sure that your protege is successful too. So, I think, again, I can't imagine that there's really any downside for the proteges coming into this, because it's exactly what they want. They get out of it what they put into it.
Okay.
Well, I have a question to follow on to that, because certainly in our nonprofit world and the world of metrics and all of that, it's I think it's something that we see is successful, but do you have like success stories, or kind of measuring, when you're sharing with people, how do we measure the value of mentoring? Is there a way that you guys can kind of put that down on paper or share with the world?
Of course.
This is valuable, because I think we all know that it is, but it's not like 2 + 2, that solid answer. But how do you guys kind of track your success?
So I will say it is a little bit different for the veteran side of the house than the military spouse side of the house, to be quite honest. So in terms of the metric, we are very metrics driven, and we do take down a lot of this. So we're not a jobs placement program. We don't guarantee anything. However, for a program that's not focused on job placement, and that's not a priority, I think the latest statistics from last year were like over 3/4 of the proteges who went through this program said they found meaningful, not just a job, meaningful employment with the help of their mentor along the course of their year-long mentorship. So that's probably very telling in and of itself, that this is not the job. The mentors are not expected to find jobs for them. That's not their goal. However, throughout that relationship, that's what they're getting out of it, is they're figuring out those right steps. And that's a major focus for us, is meaningful employment. Because we know, if we look at, again, the veteran population, just because we've been working in that space for much longer, a lot of the transitioning service members are not staying in the same job, when they're getting out of the service. I think that the last statistics from the census were like 50% of transitioning service members stayed in that first job for less than a year, because they weren't finding that it was meaningful employment for them. It was just the next thing to do in the interim. So I think that that's really important. For the spouses, we've kind of been measuring it a little bit differently. And so what we're gathering from them is when they start a mentorship, about halfway through and at the end, we're asking them specific questions about their level of confidence in terms of their professional development. Because again, not everyone's goal here is employment specific. And we want to make sure that they're getting out of this what they find most, that is going to be most helpful for them, regardless of where they are or what their end goal is. And so the numbers have been, phenomenal. I don't want to misquote what they are. I know that they're well over 90% of the spouses who have gone through this program in the last 3 years have gone from ones and twos. We rated on a scale of 5, ones and twos to mostly 3, 4s, and 5s. Significant improvement in terms of their own views of themselves, their professional development. They get the chance to say to their mentor, should I disclose I'm a spouse? Is that something that I want to talk about with HR? Should I be proud of it? Should I hide it? How do I present this? How do I talk about these gaps and be confident there and express to them, all of those things, talk about my education, my volunteering, the kids' schedules, like how do I do all of these things? I think it's really difficult to navigate these conversations. And so, that's really how we are measuring the success for our spouses, because again, their needs are different.
Well, it sounds like it actually, the benefits spill over into the personal life as well.
Yes.
So that's a really neat side effect of getting your mentor. It can help you professionally and personally.
Exactly.
Was there anything else you wanted to add? I was trying to see if Denise had asked a question, but I think it was about the success stories. So if you've gone through the program and a year or so later, you're changing, you're pivoting, whatever the magic word is for that year, do you have an option to come back?
Great question. So typically we only offer one mentorship per protege. However, we take everything on a case-by-case basis because that happens. There have been lots of veterans and spouses who go through and then say, you know what? Thought I wanted to go into logistics and I hate it and I don't want to do it anymore. It is not the same out here in the real world that it was back in my military world. And I'm pivoting into cybersecurity and know nothing about it. And so the short answer is yes. If there are reasons, if they, had a successful mentorship with us, but they're making a pivot or a change or something comes up, absolutely, they should reach back out to their point of contact at ACP or, go on the website and reach out to us through there and apply for a new mentorship. And most of the time we're going to say yes, because we want to make sure, again, that you're successful. That's the end goal here.
That's fabulous.
So I just wanted to throw, I think I know the answer to this question, but I just want to make sure that we get it into the recording. Could you have a coach and a mentor at the same time?
Yes, do it. As a social worker, I am huge on plugging, tap into everything, literally. If it's out there and it applies to you and you think it's going to be a good fit, yes, absolutely. Do it 100%. Tap into everything that Spouse Nation has and ACP has and all of these other organizations. You would be amazed, how many wonderful things there are out there for our community that a lot of our civilian counterparts don't have. I don't know that I've mentioned this, but ACP is 100% free to our service members and spouses. There are so many other resources that are as well. So, make sure that they're vetted and that they're legitimate and that they're not trying to reach into your pockets. But yes, you should have a coach, you should have a mentor, you should have all of the people in your corner helping you to do all of the amazing things that you are capable of doing.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there just because you brought up, you touched on that broad spectrum of all of these great resources. So you're also involved and volunteer with another organization, Vet to Industries. And I know that you do. Why don't you just take I'm going to give you a platform here, a few minutes, because again, Melinda and I have this mentality of whatever ends up helping the spouse in the end was the right fit. And there are so many no cost solutions out there for our spouses. You really need to take advantage of everything that you can. So why don't you just take a few minutes and just talk to us about the Vet to Industries program and for the military spouse side of it.
Absolutely. So ACP has a great relationship with Vets to Industry, and there are a couple of staff members here that are volunteers there. A wonderful organization. So Vets to Industry, or V2I, founded by a service member. He was a protege in ACP's programming, so there's a lot of crossover there. Phenomenal program. So he identified, Brian, who is amazing, identified kind of in his transition and into the corporate world that there wasn't one place where all of this information was being gathered, that people had to go out and really try to find all of these great resources. And so he kind of was like, all right, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to step in and I'm going to start kind of putting it all together in like a Bible of like all of the great things that are out there, vetted resources and organizations who are helping this military community. And that has grown into this tremendous organization who now, one of the really phenomenal things they're doing is these networking events that they do on a monthly basis. And so if you have never heard of it, go check it out. They are so great, especially if you're in this place where you're looking for employment. It's phenomenal. So they have these events, there are Zoom events, there are literally hundreds of people. There are recruiters on the calls, there are nonprofits and other community partners on the call, lots of service members and spouses. Once a quarter, we do one specifically for the military spouse community. So spouses are welcome to join any of the networking events, but we do one specifically because, again, we're different and we get lumped in with the veterans and the service members a lot, but we're our own people and we've got our own goals and our own obstacles and challenges. And so we wanted to recognize that at V2I. And so there's one specifically for that population, still bringing the same recruiters and the same organizations, but it's a little bit quieter. So you get a little more time to really exchange thought with other military spouses and other people in the community. So there is usually a guest speaker, and then there are breakout events, which is really cool because you get to break out into smaller groups. So rather than this virtual world where we just get talked at all of the time,
right,
UI gives you the opportunity to actually speak to people. You get a chance to give your elevator pitch and ask other spouses or nonprofits or community partners or recruiters for help. So come prepared to those events with something in mind where you're thinking like, you know what, if I had 2 minutes in front of somebody who was going to help me with the next step, what would I ask them? And that's what you get out of that. There'll be, lots and lots of people throwing in their LinkedIns, and you get to make a lot of beautiful and wonderful connections and ask the questions. And it's just, it's a new way of thinking about how do we communicate and how do we connect with people in this post-COVID, I guess not even post-COVID, COVID world, where we're trying to figure it out. And it's hard and it's isolating, and we tend to get siloed a lot in a lot of ways. This gives you a different kind of way to do that.
I love it. I'm sitting here going, it used to be, PC, politically correct, and now PC could be post-COVID, right?
Right.
We're in the PC, politically correct post-COVID environment. This has been fabulous. And you refer to community, and that's what I just think is such an amazing thing, because we are all part of this community. We've got you listed on the Spouse Nation. Everything that we all do for our spouses and veterans, we all seem to overlap, because our mission is to help them find their employment, find their dream job, find that extra income, however we can assist them. So as our logo is for Spouse Nation, we want to keep you employment ready until you're ready for employment, because spouses are different, and we're always putting our life on hold for so many wonderful and different reasons. But so we are happy to have shared this information with you folks today who are going to be watching this. Lucy, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure working with you, and I know we'll be seeing you again soon. And I think February 5th is the next Vet to Industries event. So we'll probably be logging on there to do some networking with everybody and share our information for military spouse jobs. Awesome. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lucy, and we'll talk with you later.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for your time. Thank you for sharing this information. Happy to be here. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on February 5th. So better be logging in.
We put that information out on the website and on our Facebook pages.
Awesome. I'm always here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect offline, one-on-one. Want to make sure that you're all as successful as possible. So plug into all of those resources that we talked about.
Absolutely. All right.
When we post this video, we will provide information for all of these websites and resources so that you can access them as easily as possible. So thank you very much and take care. Have a great holiday season.
Bye-bye.